Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Coffee and Takes podcast. Today, I'm very privileged to be joined by Sam Bradbury, a entrepreneur, a trader, and the co-founder of Glownote, a forex prop firm which is looking to fund talented traders around the world. First things first, Sam, thanks very much for coming to the studio. Also, Ryan as well, who's not in the shot currently, and the videographer. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for coming along.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Privilege is mine. For those that don't know who you are and your background, give us an insight into who you are and your journey so far in entrepreneurship.
Sure. So where do I start really? I guess it began when I was quite young. So I've always had quite an entrepreneurial mindset, I guess. I've always been interested in making money. When I was a kid, I didn't really have too much. So I I started buying and selling Pepsis at school and things like that at the age of 11, just to then buy my first Xbox, which I bought pre-owned. And I got that on quite a bit of a deal and was able to actually then sell it eventually for a profit. So I was always sort of into buying and selling things, and I got into buying and selling electronics, buying and selling different things. And then I didn't do very well at school, unfortunately.
Likewise.
So I actually became what I like to call a street pharmacist. And I did that for a few years. But I think what I learned from that was sort of building connections, and also being approachable. So I wasn't like the average person that you would meet on the street. I wasn't a scary person or anything like that. I was someone who was open to speaking to absolutely anyone, and I've always been like that. So yeah, I guess I've just been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I decided that when I finished school, I wanted to learn a skill that would actually pay me a little bit more than what you would sort of earn in the retail world or anything like that. So I became a tattoo artist. Nice. I was always good at art, and I heard that they made £70 an hour. I thought that's not too bad.
Yeah,
I could do a few hours a day, and then I've made my daily income, and not had to work so much. So I started sort of pursuing that, and through that I sort of started meeting lots and lots of different people. Obviously I had a huge, my biggest marketing was through referrals. So I was already just everyone that I gave a tattoo to would then tell all their friends would come to me. I'd do discounts if they bring groups and things like that. So yeah, I guess I started really sort of learning about business. I was still working for myself, of course, but on my way to starting to really build a business. I then found network marketing. I'm not going to mention any network marketing companies because I'm not a part of any at the moment, but I did find network marketing, and that was sort of another aspect for me where I started learning about residual income. Obviously passive income, or whatever you want to call it, and started learning about actually building a business that is going to cash flow and put money in your pocket every single month. And I thought, right, that's what I want. So basically anything that could pay me without me physically putting in a lot of effort or a lot of time, that's what I wanted to do. I was willing to put the time in now to see the rewards later. So that's not the issue. It's not because I'm lazy or anything like that, a little bit lazy. But I wanted to be continuously paid for my efforts. So yeah, found out about network marketing, found out about Forex trading through network marketing. I've actually now been trading since 2016. So coming up to 8 years now. And yeah, I guess through just learning about the foreign exchange market, I then, started a YouTube channel because I wanted to try and help people. And then I started reviewing different trading tools and trading firms and stuff like that. I met my business partner, Ryan. He's an absolute tech wizard, absolute genius. And basically he came to me saying, what is all this stuff you're doing? And he essentially, in his mind, he just automates everything. So he creates robots, he creates anything you can think of, he can create something that will automate it. So we decided to go into business together and sort of automate this thing. And yeah, that's where we are now.
That's how Glownode came together.
That's pretty much how Glownode started. Yeah. So we started off with trading tools that obviously my business partner created. We then obviously started making a lot of money from that and decided that we wanted to open our own prop firm. So
that's incredible to hear. I mean, every entrepreneur that I sit down and I talk to, there was always a starting point for them, something that triggered them to want to live life on their own terms. For some people, it's just realizing that at the end of the month, when they look at their paycheck, they look at all the hours worked and they look at their paycheck and they think, is that it? Is that all I'm left with? After everything's taken, that's all I have left. That was the case for me. You know, I realized that I was working so hard and I always had too much month at the end of the money.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself,
I still get that now sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably down to your bad spending habits. But, you know, for me, it was a case of, wow, I mean, this is just tragic. Every month it was stress. All the bills would come out and I was left with nothing and I had to start again. And I knew what my paycheck would be the next month. That's why for me, entrepreneurship was a no-brainer. Now, I know it's not for everybody. Right. I know some people like the stability of working for somebody else. And I think Donald Trump actually put it. He said that what determines a great entrepreneur is their ability to manage stress. And obviously, you and Ryan, as CEOs of companies, you both know that there's a lot of stress involved in running your own business.
Crazy amount of stress. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's a stress that you're willing to endure because at the end of the day, it's your own thing.
Yeah.
And you get to decide how far it goes. So with a job, unless you're in sales, and even if you're in sales, there's a cap.
Yeah.
You know, they'll find a way to not pay you the commissions that you're owed, and there's a ceiling above your head. So for you got a glimpse of that when you were a tattoo artist. You saw that, oh, okay, I can make more in an hour than I did before. And then what was a turning point where you thought, you know, right, I could really scale this to a life where I'm financially free? So obviously you said you got into network marketing. Was it the fact that you discovered Forex? Was that the light bulb moment where you realized I could do in a day what some people potentially do in a month?
Yeah, so I guess so. I mean, to be honest, as I said, I've always been very entrepreneurial and I've always sort of thought about the money. How much money can I make from this? How much money can I make from this? I've seen people who have made a lot of money in property, where they've bought a property for 500, 600,000, added a lot of value to it, and then maybe sold it for 1 point whatever million, and they've made 300,000-400,000 profit within a space of 1 year. And then I'm thinking, that person was never actually at the property. They had builders over there. They had other teams of people managing that project. So I started thinking, how can I actually start sort of delegating my time or delegating projects onto other people, finding other people to do the work for me. So I guess that's where I really started to think more about business than Forex. Forex was absolutely amazing. And Forex was my starting point to really making money. So I think for the first sort of 3 years, I didn't really make much. Probably was in minus by the end of it.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So, but then in 2020, I actually made quite a significant amount of money. I bought my first property cash.
Oh, brilliant.
I made almost 6 figures in cryptocurrency during the bull run. So I was just absolutely just filled with cash, basically. I was cash rich at the time. I wasn't a millionaire yet, but I'd made a significant amount.
For those that don't know, how old are you?
I'm 26 now.
That's amazing.
So back then I was 22, 23. And yeah, so it was at that point I was like, wow, I've made it. I thought I'd made it anyway. And 2021 came along. And I think the end of 2021, start of 2022, I lost absolutely everything.
Wow.
So I think obviously trading was a platform for me to get to a significant point, but then you sort of get complacent, you sort of get a little bit too comfortable. So I was spending a lot of money. I was living a lifestyle that I couldn't really afford long term. And then I sort of got a little bit cocky in the markets. thought that everything was just going to go my way all the time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately it doesn't.
The market does teach you sometimes the hard way. A good old spank. But I mean, in terms of trading, obviously you got into trading and you made a lot of silly mistakes early on. Now, just for those that are watching this for the first time, thinking, what is trading? Is it stocks? Because there's a lot of people that still don't know much about trading.
Right.
Give them an introduction into what trading is, and obviously the kind of trading that you were doing when you first got in. And then we'll get into sort of the early stages and some of the mistakes you made as a rookie in the beginning.
So I guess there's a lot of different types of trading. Obviously, in a job, you're trading your time for money. Obviously, back in the day, they were trading cattle for herbs and spices. They were trading, but they finally brought out currency. But yeah, so I guess trading can be a lot of different things. You can trade stocks, you can trade cryptocurrency, or what I do is I trade in the foreign exchange market. So the foreign exchange market is basically just trading one currency for another currency. It's as simple as that. So if we were to go to the US, we would obviously change our Great British Pound to the US dollar.
Yep.
And of course, there's conversion rates on that. But what we do is trade with leverage, meaning that for every $1 that I'm purchasing, I can actually buy $100.
Yeah.
And that means if I put 1,000 in, I'm essentially buying 100,000 worth of US dollars. And that means for every sort of cent or 2 cents or 3 cents that it goes up, I can then make $1, $2, $3 instead of just a few cents, if that makes sense. So that's what I did, and I focused heavily on. For the first few years, like I said, I was changing my strategies. I was sort of looking at all different currency pairs, and what sort of changed for me was I stopped looking at any currency pair. So I was actually told to keep it super simple, right? I was told to stop overcomplicating. I was told to stop overcomplicating. I was told to stop overcomplicating things. Yeah. And basically just learn one strategy, a very simple strategy, and just follow your rules. So I started doing that. I started only looking at gold. Okay. So I did not trade anything else. The reason why I like gold is because it's a little more volatile than Forex pairs, so you can make money a little bit quicker. But it's not as volatile as crypto, indices, or stocks. So you're also you're not at as much risk. Yeah. So you can make a little bit of consistent profit, and it's a little bit more than what you would make in the foreign exchange market. So I started focusing on that one pair. I started sticking to very, very simple rules. Yeah. And that's when I started becoming consistent and making good money. And I was flipping accounts. I wasn't always using the best risk management. Yeah. But I was also a funded trader with multiple prop firms. I was getting payouts, putting those into trading accounts and flipping those as well. So that's incredible. Pretty much where I made a lot of my money, and then I started reinvesting that money into things like property, cryptocurrency, and things like that. So
that's brilliant. Yeah, I think with retail trading, obviously 20 years ago we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have obviously high tech equipment that we could take advantage of in our own homes to trade the market. I mean, it was a very difficult thing for the average person to do. You needed to know the right people with access to terminals, and it was very tricky. Yeah. And obviously, since the introduction of smartphones and then all these applications that came out and brokers allowing people to start with £500, it's opened the playing field to just about anyone. And obviously, there's always people out there who dabble with Forex. You know, they put $1,000 in or $2,000 in, and then obviously they blow it. Yeah. Usually they may get a little bit of success just before they blow it. That's what happens usually. Oh man, I made $2,000 profit, whatever, and then I lost it all. You know, and from that point on, a lot of people seem to have quite a negative taste in their mouth from Forex, and they say, oh, I wouldn't do trading, whatever. But I always tell people that, of course, you got to approach it like a business. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people, and we'll get into the negative impacts of social media when it comes to people's perceptions of trading and making money. And it's not just trading, it's also other avenue streams as well, drop shipping. I mean, there's so many ways to make money nowadays, but a lot of people look at the wrong things on social media. They focus on the wrong things. And I guess with trading, some of the misconceptions are to do with how quickly you can make that money and the lifestyle. Was that something that you looked at in your early stages of trading and you thought, wow, I need to make money in 6 months, in 3 months?
Yes.
Did you have like
100%.
that get rich quick mentality? I need this money quickly.
I mean, the thing is, so for me, I was already making more than the majority of people that I knew around me as a tattoo artist before. I also had, it was kind of a self-employed job as a tout. So I was essentially selling tickets in Cambridge for Cambridge University, and we were selling cash in hand off the books, and we were making very good money. I'm not going to say, just in case someone, accountant, HMRC are watching, but we were making a lot of money off the books, basically. And that was obviously in sales, and again, I was reinvesting that money. But sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. Can you?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, people's perceptions of trading when
right?
they first get in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was making a lot of money before I actually got into trading. So when I got into trading, I was hoping to then actually make more than what I was making outside of trading.
Of course, yeah.
And again, it's seeing all the people with the Lamborghinis, with the Rolexes, all of that kind of stuff, and you're thinking, wow, I want to be like that person.
Yeah.
But it's very, very hard. It's very, very difficult. And when you start, I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong with trading. The fear of loss, of course, fearing that you're going to lose money, so not taking the trade when you have set everything up, all of your confirmations are lining up, and you're like, oh, I don't want to lose any money, so you don't take that trade and you miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
The next thing is getting greedy. When you do take that trade and it goes well, and you're like, I want to get on the next trade, so you get greedy and you end up losing money.
Yeah.
The next thing is revenge trading. So when you do lose money, you then want to make that money back very quickly. Yeah. And you start losing money again and again and again. So there are so many different things. And I mean, even things like with brokers, you've got spread, commission, things like that. So even if you were to just win 50-50, it's not really 50-50. There's always that, I call it the double zeros. Yeah. Like if you're playing roulette, there's always a small percentage that goes back to the house, right?
Of course.
So it's never actually in your favor, even if you were to just buy or sell at any random time. So the market is very much against you, and your mindset is very much against you as well. So there's just so many things that can go wrong, and it's just so difficult to keep disciplined and keep to your confirmations, keep to your strategy, and be consistent in the market.
Absolutely. I'd have to agree with that as well. I mean, I got into trading at a similar sort of time to you back in 2016, 2017, and that was something I struggled with for a while. It was really making sure that I don't essentially step on my own dick, you know, find a way to mess it up myself. And I always say that with traders, you know, you are your biggest enemy.
Yeah, you are 100%.
Because you have to essentially be your own boss throughout the whole process. You have to keep your emotions in check. You have to keep your expectations in check. You have to make sure that when you make money, that you don't continue down this rabbit hole of, I want to make more and more. And, you know, and obviously this is something I tell my students as well, that, you know, not taking a position is also a position. You know, the market will still be there tomorrow. It's okay. And a book, you've definitely heard of this book, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Right. You know, one of the things he talked about was our subconscious behaviors that affect our trading performance. And it's something that no trader who's just starting off for the first time is thinking about. All they're thinking about is the Lambo, and this profit is going to buy me this. And they're planning their purchases with their floating profit.
Spending the money before they've made it.
Before they even close the position, at least secure the damn position, withdraw the money, and then you can start thinking. But a lot of these traders, and I was one of them, I'll be up $2,000 on a trade and I'll be like, oh, things I'm going to buy with this. And then I go to the toilet, I come back and I'm down. And I joke about it. I told my friend, I'm sure my hairline must have receded an inch. Especially
I'm surprised I'm not grey.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, the stress that comes with it, but it's self-imposed. This is the thing. And when you change the way you look at the market, everything will change. And this is why, obviously, I mentioned the whole thing with approaching it as a business. When you approach it as a business, then things are a lot more slowed down. You're not making rushed decisions. You know, what is the rush? You know, a lot of young guys that get into trading, you know, they want to make money now. What's the rush? If you're 21, 20, 19, you know, the market will still be there in 3 years and 4 years. You know, but people have this this mentality of, I need to make the money now. And I always talk about how you must approach it in a tactful manner. So always keep your job. And I want to get your opinion on that as well.
Well, I was just about to say this, actually. I think, in fact, it is probably my number one rule that you have to have an income before trading. You have to. There's a lot of people come into this, and as you said before, you'll make that 2,000 and think that you've made that 2,000. So a lot of people come into this market, they've maybe made some money for 1 month, maybe even 2 months, and it's that sort of, they feel like they're sort of there, if that makes sense. They feel like they now have that stability when they don't. So you have to have an income outside of trading, else it just won't work. Because once you start putting all of your eggs into one basket, as an example, and you're just focusing on trading and that's your main source of income, if that goes away, you're absolutely screwed. Obviously, I've experienced that firsthand massively. And I wish that when I started, in fact, when I started making money consistently, I wish that I was reinvesting it, but I wish I was also building something else on the side. So the investments that I made were long-term investments, and that's great long-term, but they weren't cash flowing enough for me to actually support myself on those incomes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I fully agree with you there. I think trading in itself is not an activity that takes 8 hours of your day.
No.
And if it does, you're probably doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
I mean, you mark up your chart in the mornings. I tell my students this. I mean, look, the analysis may take half an hour, 15 minutes. Because if you're trading the same strategy, and this is why, as you mentioned, it's so important just to stick to one strategy, simplify it as much as possible. Because if you're constantly switching up, you're changing strategies every couple of weeks, you're not going to have the discipline to execute your strategy properly. So look, 15, 30 minutes, you look for the same sort of setup every day. Good trading is boring.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly.
If you're excited, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, damn, this is amazing. This strategy is going to, absolutely crush it for me. But if you're smiling too much, if you're getting so excited, if you're experiencing euphoria, as Mark Douglas puts it, then you're in trouble. Good trading is boring. Oh yeah, cool. Same thing. Yeah. Even if you win, you're not too ecstatic. If you lose, you're not devastated. It's part of the trading probability. So I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some. People need to change their relationship with failure. And I want to get your perspective on this as well. Because some people see a loss as a bad thing. And I mean, look, no one likes to lose money. But in the context of trading, how do you see losses?
Well, it depends. So losses obviously have to be lessons. But sometimes I genuinely believe, so if you lose a significant amount, if you lose more than what your daily allowance is or whatever else, if you set yourself targets and you're losing more than that, that has to be a lesson. That has to be, right, I need to change this. Something needs to change about my strategy. But there are also times where it's not a lesson, it's just something that happens, right? So it just is something that happens in the market, and sometimes you do just need to forget about it. You can't sort of hold it and think, what am I doing wrong? Start changing your strategy just because you took a loss. You need to go back to that same strategy and just work at it until it continuously sort of makes profit, if that makes sense. You can't just switch up every single time you take a loss just because you think that something's wrong with your strategy or your mindset or anything like that, because then you are just going to continuously fail. So I think sometimes if something has gone wrong, learn from it. If you have done everything right and you still take a loss, just understand that happens and let it go.
I think trading is one of the only things in the world where you have to be okay with doing everything right and still losing.
Yes, yeah.
Because in other walks of life, if you do everything right and lose, you probably start panicking. You probably start thinking to yourself, well, this shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy because if we go back to sort of treating this like a business,
Yeah.
the same thing happens in business. And I don't think a lot of people understand this. So not just in Forex, but in business. I mean, look, if you're working a 9 to 5 and something goes wrong, then it's potentially your fault, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not working hard enough and whatever. I mean, there obviously can be scenarios where it's not your fault. Management have done something needs to change, budget cuts, whatever else.
Yeah.
So obviously negative things can happen, but in business, I see it especially a lot of the time. I mean, I've failed multiple businesses in the past, and I feel like I've done everything right. I've done everything to the book. I've done everything that I possibly can, that everyone else, like the mentors around me, have done, or whatever else. And still, sometimes there are failures. There are times where it's not going to work. People aren't going to love your product straight away. And yeah, I feel like it's not just in trading, but in life in general, in business, you have to understand that there are going to be losses. There are going to be times where you're not doing so well, but you just have to stick at it, and stick at it in the way that you know works. Don't try and fix it if it's not broken, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's obviously very naive to expect that things will always be the way you think they will be. I mean, you're going to go through rough patches. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you're going to question whether or not what you're doing is a good idea. Yeah. I mean, I've had that plenty of times. I'm sure you and Ryan have as well. You go through the process and you think, man, is this even a good idea? What am I even doing? Am I crazy? You know?
I'd love to go back to a normal job.
Oh yeah, I mean, you almost start missing a job.
Income.
And that's when you know you're in, you're going through something really, really strange when you start missing a job. But then you check yourself and you're like, hang on, I can't go back to to that sort of environment where I'm just a number essentially,
and not progressing.
Exactly, absolutely. And for me, I think one thing I realized was that rough patches come, but you have to endure the rough patch. Even when it comes to trading, you may have 3 or 4 positions that are losses in a row. And it takes a really disciplined trader to say, you know what? I'm doing my analysis correctly. I'm sticking to my rules. I'm not over trading. Yeah. You know what? This is just something that often happens. Yeah. If it happens another 4 times and another 4 times, then maybe you should start back testing your strategy a little bit more. Just to make sure that you're better at executing. And I want to get into backtesting as well, because I feel like the most transformative thing when it came to my own trading was backtesting, but it wasn't talked about. Everyone was just talking about their holy grail strategy and how amazing it was. But no one talked about the importance of repeating that strategy again and again and again, and making sure you're good at identifying these setups and executing them at the right time, because that's essentially going to the gym as a trader. You don't definitely. Like going back in time and trading the market from 2017, 15, 13, and going through the months and, I've seen this before. That's how you get that knowledge. So then when you forward test, when you test the current market, then you're, I've seen this before. I've traded this before. You can get essentially 10 or 20 years worth of real trading experience in 6 months. Yeah. That's the crazy thing about backtesting, but I'd love to know your perspective.
It's difficult. So personally, I don't spend a crazy amount of time on the charts. So whenever I have backtested, the thing is, so for me, it was a long time ago, and I used the same strategy for a long time. So I did backtest that strategy, but maybe only for about a month. And that's it. And I was like, I feel comfortable with it. And I just started using it. For me, it was quite successful. And I used that for about the next 5 years. Wow. So for me, it's more, I think, backtesting in the way of seeing how the market works, seeing the different patterns in the market, finding where different highs and lows are and things like that. That is very important, and I always do that even with like top-down analysis. I even sort of feel like that's kind of backtesting as well, because you're sort of plotting out what's happened in history to find out what's going on now. So I definitely think it's important. But once you've got that strategy, just stick to it, I think. Yeah. So I can't speak too much on backtesting because
everyone has a different
I haven't done it for years. So I've got my strategy. I don't need to backtest it. So
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different approaches to trading, and obviously one of the dangers is you stay in that demo back testing phase for too long.
That's true. That is very true. And to be honest, I've seen a lot of people do this, and it's sort of like they're planning, but never executing.
They're scared. Why do you think they're scared? Why can't they just seem to put their own money?
I'm not sure. I mean, I see this with business as well a lot. I mean, I've been to property business courses. I've been to, any just random business courses, networking events and stuff like that. And there's always people that are there every single time. They're learning, they're reading all the books, but they've never actually started that business. And it's like, personally, I don't understand it because I'm just a doer. I don't even think about it. I just do it. Yeah. So for me, it just baffles me. But for someone that's going through that, I think, well, obviously it's difficult to start. Yeah. There's always doubts in your mind. There is, like I said, those different fears, the fear of missing out, the getting greedy and all those sorts of things. But yeah, I think my advice personally would be just to do it, just go for it. Obviously backtest, learn it before you do it, but don't feel like you need to know every single bit about it before getting started. That's and I think point. That's where people mess up.
Yeah, that's a
it's kind of like that quote from Richard Branson. If someone asks me to do something, I'll say yes. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but I'll say yes and then find out how to do it later. Yeah, that's kind of always been my mindset. Of course, you want to understand the industry you're getting into before trying, but just get into it. Stick your fingers in it and find out what's on the other side.
You have to. And I think people that get stuck in this analysis mode, they call it paralysis by analysis. Of course, they analyze every aspect of the process, and but wait, I need to make sure I have this first, and and there's someone out there with less resources than you doing laps around you because they're learning as they're going along. They're like, oh, this doesn't work. Okay, next, and this whole concept of failing forward is very important for a lot of young guys to understand. Failure is not the end of the world, it's feedback. If you quit, that's failure. If you decide, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go back to my 9 to 5 and who am I? How did I even have the audacity to do this in the first place? Let me just sit down and be a good employee. But that's failure in my books. Yeah. But getting feedback, it's just about changing the way you look at things. It really is. And to touch on what you just mentioned there about feeling like you need to learn more about the market. Mark Douglas talks about this. He says one of the biggest problems with a lot of traders is believing that the more they learn about the market, the better traders they'll be. And in fact, I actually speak to a lot of traders now who are new to trading that know more than me. Yeah. And I'm like, hang on a second, he gets into this whole concept and everything. And I'm like, you know what, mate? You know more than me, but I've been sticking to the same thing now for the last few years. Right. And, there's so many terminologies, so many indicators that people can use. It's just, as you said, it's just a case of sticking to what works, not reinventing the wheel. And if it's working, if it's making money, continue doing it. Yeah. And look, if it gets to a point where it doesn't make you the money that it used to, it may be because of you, or maybe the strategy doesn't work at a certain time of the year. It's just about feedback.
Yeah. See, there's two things that I think of when you say that. So I went to one of the conventions for a Forex convention in Florida, and I heard a trader, and he was like, I am the worst trader out there, right? And he was speaking on stage, he was teaching others. He said, I am the worst trader out there. I let my emotions get the better of me sometimes. I make mistakes sometimes. I don't know the terminology. I don't know what the candlesticks are and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I have learned a very simple strategy that is extremely consistent, and I learned risk management, and that's it. Yeah. And so he just uses that, and he was able to make consistent profit. And I feel like a lot of people, when they're over learning, they're sort of confusing themselves. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of why I don't really do much. I have my simple strategy, and I again say that I'm a lazy trader, I guess, because I'm not looking at all these SMC concepts. I'm not looking at order flows and whatever else. I'm just looking at, has this crossed a certain point? Yes, I'll buy it. No, I'm not buying it. I'm leaving it alone. Exactly. And that's it. I try and keep it as simple as possible. But another thing that I wanted to say, not trading related, but when I was building my YouTube channel, right, I spent hours and hours and hours researching how to get views, how to get subscribers, how to do this. And then I think I probably spent about 2-3 years building up my channel. And there was a kid, and I speak to the kid now. He's in the exact same industry, but his first video just blew up, and he got 180,000 views, and I think he got something like 10,000 subscribers from that. And I was only at like 1 or 2K subscribers after years of work. Yeah, and I was like, "How did you do that?"
This month, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then he posted a few more videos, and I think he was at 40K or something within his first 3 months. And I was like, wow, like, how have you done that? And he was like, to be honest, like, I didn't research it, didn't do anything. The videos weren't even that great. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah. But what he did was he posted content that was relevant to big influencers in the industry as they were posting their content. So he was being recommended on the search, like suggested videos and things like that. And his videos were just exploding because of that. So he didn't go through the whole process that I did. He didn't overthink it. He just went and did it. Yeah. And that brought him a lot of success. And I mean, he still continuously gets crazy amounts of views in his videos now. Yeah. And it's because he's posting, he just did it. He found something that works, and he just continues to do the same thing over and over again. So I feel like sometimes you do need that. You need that physical experience. And that can sort of put you ahead of those people that are just analyzing all the time, that are just learning. It's that physical experience that has actually sort of pushed you to actually further your business, your brand, your forex trading, whatever it is. So
yeah, for sure, I fully agree with that as well. As a fellow YouTuber, you know, it's one of those things where you try and look for a hack, you try and look for a quicker way to get the result, but then you realize that the more you post, the better the quality will be. And you only have to be right once, as Jay-Z says, right? One video blows up, and then you're on the map. Yeah. And then from there, YouTube rewards you with more views, more engagement. That's the good thing about YouTube. The algorithm is very smart. It monitors your activity and how often you post. And if you post frequently, and there's a good sort of retention rate on your videos, people are watching 30-40% of your videos, which is considered pretty good on YouTube. Then YouTube thinks, oh, let's get this guy out to more people. I had a video recently about a couple of months ago that hit 100, and I think it's on 170,000 views now as well. And that gave me a similar result as well. So that gave me, I think, 12,000 subscribers. And my first 2 years, I only built up about 8,000. So from one video, I got 12,000 subscribers. So then it makes you think, hang on a second, if I just keep doing this, another one will go viral, and then I'll get more subscribers from that. And I think it all boils down to, why are you doing it? I feel. You know, Simon Sinek has a great book called Start With Why. A lot of people don't know why they're doing it. They're just coasting. And a lot of people don't know why they're trading either. And they'll tell you, oh, it's because of money or whatever, but there's no strong why behind why they do what they do. And once you figure that out, you're very difficult to take out the game, you know. And for a lot of people, it's maybe family reasons. You know, they've got kids, a wife, and they want to retire them, and they want to provide their kids with an incredible life that maybe they didn't have. That's going to keep you in the game a lot more, or a lot longer, shall I say, than I want a Rolex. Because after 6, agree, you know what I mean? After 6 months of trading and you're getting battered by the market, you almost start thinking, you know what, forget the Rolex. But when you know you've got kids at home and they're relying on you, you're like, I can't quit. You know, so the why is something that I always tell people.
I had someone tell me that you can quit on yourself, but you can't quit on your reason why. So if you're, like you said, obviously you can downgrade on those things. So let's say you wanted a Lamborghini, you start thinking, oh, actually, do you know what? I can just settle for, I don't know, let's say another nice car, BMW or something, right? Actually, do you know what? I can't afford the BMW. I can settle for a Honda. It's not an issue. I can't afford the Honda. I'll settle for a bicycle. You know what? Right? It's a bad thing anyway. Yeah, exactly. And you can always quit on yourself. You can always reduce your sort of expectations or your I'm not sure
your
what
expectations.
the word is. Yeah,
I mean, you start negotiating with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas when it comes to a family, if your reason why is spending more time with your kids, you're never ever going to get that time back. So
Absolutely.
you can't negotiate there. There is no negotiation. You have to go and do it. You have to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, human beings, I mean, we're so connected to, you know, our own families, and you know, that's the thing that keeps us going. I mean, that's why my channel is dedicated to a lot of men around the world who are, you know, seeking to improve themselves. And you know, there are millions of men around the world today that do things they don't enjoy in terms of their work, but they do it because they know they've got people at home counting on them. You know, and one of the reasons, taking this back to trading, why trading for me was just an absolute no-brainer, was because it allows me to buy my time back. You know, when you actually sit down and pause and think about a 9 to 5. I mean, look, I'm not down on jobs. I'm just big on opportunity. But when you actually think about a job, you're giving 8 to 9 hours, and this isn't even taking into account the commute back and forth, which may be another couple of hours. So you might be given anywhere between 8 to 11 hours a day of your life to a company that, if you, God forbid, pass away, they'll have your job advertised after 7 days. You know, or they might, you know,
or if you work for us tomorrow.
No, I'm joking. But that's the thing, it's ruthless, right? It's ruthless. But I mean, that's the thing. When you become your own boss, you realize, wow, I've got the time back now. I can now dictate how I want to run the day.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I don't have to be a victim of the circumstance where I'm at the mercy of my employer.
Yeah.
If my employer decides, you know what, I don't fucking like this guy anymore, gets rid of him, and then you're now back to square one. You're vulnerable again. And I think for me, one of the things as well is not wanting to be in a vulnerable position where someone decides you're fired. You know, and you're now sat there with no income. If you've got kids, I don't have kids myself, but if you've got kids, now you're stressed. How am I going to take care of the kids, the house, this and that? So that's why for me, trading was something that really connected with me, because it allows me to do something that I would never be able to do in a job. You know, and I'm a big fan of sales. I always tell a lot of young guys, you know, get into sales because it teaches you a lot of things about communication, negotiation, and if you want to be your own boss, you know, I mean, you were in network marketing and so was I, and network marketing taught me a great deal about, you know, people, and obviously how to negotiate and present in front of people and communicate and things like that. So it was an extremely valuable experience, but there comes a point where you tell yourself, I need to do something for me now. And that takes me nicely onto Glow Note. So the prop firm world, first of all, for those that don't know what a prop firm is, a proprietary firm, tell people, educate people on what it is, and the landscape of it, and why you decided, you and Ryan, to launch your own.
So essentially, a proprietary trading firm is, I mean, for us, there's different types of proprietary trading firms, but the one that you'll hear regularly and is funded programs. So you'll hear funded challenge or things like that, funded account a lot, especially over social media. So essentially what we do is we provide traders a platform where they can actually have access to more capital than they would if they didn't come to us, essentially. So for us, you go through an evaluation. It's usually 2 phases. We do also have a single phase, so you only have to pass one challenge essentially, and then you go on to a funded account, and essentially on that funded phase you will receive up to 90% of the profits that you make.
Wow.
So what I love about this is if you are actually good at trading, you can spend as little as $50 to get access to as little as $5,000. So that's our smallest plan. But it does go up to $200,000 for as little as $1,000. So for me, the reason why I like doing this was because I was actually a funded trader before. I've been in the industry for 5 years now. I was actually working with BlueFX back when I think it might have just been BlueFX and FTMO. I'm not even sure if FTMO was a thing back then. I didn't hear anything about
landscape,
FTMO.
When was the landscape sort of forming? Because I know FTMO have been around for a while. But when I started trading back in sort of 2016 to 2017 as well, there weren't any prop firms.
No.
So when did they start appearing?
So I think I think FTMO were around. They just
Okay.
weren't very big. And then it was in 2018, I believe, I started trading with BlueFX. Now, BlueFX was a subscription-based company that offered you funding, but you only had 1 to 3 leverage.
Right.
So it was almost impossible to make profit. But I did actually make some withdrawals with them, and you have to make 10% of your account to be able to withdraw, and you get a 50% profit split.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I was on a $50,000 account,
Yep.
and I was able to make 10% a couple of times, and I would then withdraw $2,500, which I thought was amazing for the fact that I was only paying $250 a month.
Yeah.
Little did I know that the prop firm world was going to change massively, and you would be able to just pay a one-time fee, go through the evaluation, get funded, and you're now trading $100,000, $200,000, and even if you're making 1 or 2%, you're still making way more than what you've paid for that evaluation.
Yeah.
So I was just always interested in the prop firm world. I was reviewing companies on YouTube, and I still do now and then. Obviously, a lot of people think I'm biased now, but I try not to be biased at all when it comes to my YouTube channel. I don't actually promote Glownode too much on my YouTube channel just to be unbiased.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that's where I started. I still like to give my viewers from before I started Glownode the content that they were seeing before. But essentially just being in the industry, speaking to a lot of the owners from other companies, we decided actually, we were making money through the trading tools. So we had a bit of cash behind us. We know a lot of investors just through networking and stuff like that. We thought actually we could provide funding for traders as well. And so we just got in contact with the right people and started our own prop firm. We then actually, like I said, my business partner, he's just an absolute tech wizard. So he actually built all of the back end. We had no idea that there are actually services out there that provide the technology for prop firms. We had no clue. So we just built it from scratch.
Oh, wow.
And then other prop firms started coming and asking us what technology we're using. And of course, we just said we're using our own technology. So we now license that technology out to other prop firms.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty cool. So we actually run quite a few different prop firms on top of obviously Glownode. Glownode is our firm. Glownode's our baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're now running quite a few different prop firms.
Oh, brilliant.
And we help other people start their own prop firms as well. So.
And when you were forming Glownode, how did you want to do things differently to the other prop firms out there? Because there's a lot of prop firms that, some are good, others are not so good. Some are still here,
right?
Others are gone.
Yep.
And I don't know if we should name names. To be fair, they're gone now. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
They're deceased.
Yes.
But no, of course, there's some prop firms that weren't building their business with longevity in mind. They were cash grabs.
Right.
So how did you want to approach things differently with Glownode?
So to be honest, my whole goal and the reason why I started my YouTube channel in the first place was because I genuinely wanted to help people. That was my main priority. If I can make money along the way, then brilliant. Obviously I want to make money as well. But my main priority was always helping people. So we wanted to make sure that Glownode would actually be a platform that really did help people. We wanted to make sure that our rules were as fair as possible. We've had to have strict rules because some of our rules are just extremely lenient. So some of our other rules have to be strict. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But we wanted to just give people a chance. We wanted to be as fair as possible.
Yep.
So what we did when we first started, we actually had the biggest drawdown limits in the industry. So that, for anyone that doesn't know what drawdown means, it's essentially wiggle room. So you can lose more with us than you can most other firms. And we still have, I'm not sure, I don't think there's anyone else in the market that has a bigger drawdown limit than us.
Okay.
So that's one benefit coming to us. We also offer up to 90% profit split, and we've done that since we started. We also had no time limits for our prop firm challenges.
That's an interesting change, that is, yeah.
Yeah. So now that's just a general thing across all prop firms. But back then, I think there was only one prop firm that had no time limits, and there was no one else. And we decided actually this was a brilliant thing.
Why did you make that
traders.
change?
Well, again, for the traders, I was a trader with prop firms, with multiple different prop firms, and there was one prop firm that really stood out to me, and they had no time limits on their challenges. The only thing is they had very tight drawdown limits.
Yeah.
So, and they trail with you. So it was very difficult to pass the evaluations with them. And I thought, actually, we could offer a bigger drawdown limit and still have no time limit, so traders can take their time with trading. And yeah, again, it was more just for the traders. I was always just as much for the traders as possible, but to an extent to not bankrupt us at the same time.
Of course.
So, but yeah, I think with the no time limit, the best thing about it was, again, traders can take their time. And what I found with doing certain challenges, like I'd failed multiple challenges, of course, as well as passed. But when I failed challenges, I found that I was actually in profit at the end of the month, but the 30-day time limit was coming up, and I hadn't made enough profit to actually pass the challenge. So you then start trading erratically, trying to make profit quickly, and you start gambling, you start losing trades, and it's just very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So when we started our prop firm, we were like, we're not going to do that to traders. We want to give people as fair of a chance as possible. So
that's refreshing to hear, because a lot of prop firms out there, you know, of course, they don't conduct their business with the traders in mind. A lot of the founders aren't even traders. So it's good to see that,
that's
of
true.
course, as a founder, you're a trader yourself. You come from a trading background. You've taken prop firm challenges in the past, so you're aware of what the experience is like.
Yeah.
So you cater that to new traders now, which is good to see, because the landscape's obviously ever evolving. A lot of companies are now no longer here. What do you think is in store for the prop firm landscape going forward?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming forward. Obviously, a lot of prop firms have been doing some dodgy things in the background. We've seen, obviously, My Forex Funds obviously go through their lawsuit and stuff. So I do believe there's probably going to be some sort of regulation.
Yeah.
I believe that we might just have to come into this with our books open and say, look, these are exactly how many traders we have live. This is how many traders or how many people are making profit. This is how much we're making, etc., etc. I think that might have to be a thing of the future. But I also think that it's a good thing to be transparent.
Yeah.
I feel like traders sort of need someone or companies that are willing to be transparent with them, willing to be honest with them. And I feel like that's what we've sort of tried to build our business on. We've always tried to be open with everyone, absolutely all of the time. So yeah, I feel like we're ready for that. If it does come to it. Another thing that we've sort of done differently is we don't pay ourselves from Glownode. We pay ourselves just a minimum wage, basically. And that's just for tax purposes and whatever. Yeah. But we don't actually pay ourselves that much from Glownode. We pay ourselves dividends from our tech company. So all of the money that's in Glownode goes straight back into Glownode. It goes into marketing, it goes into paying traders. We're also building software that hopefully will allow us to almost A-book everyone. I'm not going to say too much about it, but we're building a lot of things at the moment, which is going to help the business massively. It's going to mean that we don't reject payouts anyway, but it's going to mean that we never have to. Which I think is a very important thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we're doing in the market right now that a lot of other people can't do. So I think that's obviously very important. So I don't feel like we'll be going anywhere. We're ready for regulations to come and take place.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's refreshing to hear. I think for a lot of people, their main concern is longevity.
Yeah.
You know, if I take out a few challenges with this company, and for a lot of people, I mean, there's traders in Africa, there's traders in parts of the world where $500 is what they earn in a month.
Yeah.
So when they take a challenge for $500 or, you know, $1,000, then it's serious money for them. And so they want to make sure that this company will still be around, their practices are ethical, and that the withdrawals are going to come on time as well.
Yeah.
How do you think AI will affect prop trading? Do you think it's going to disrupt it as much as a lot of people are saying it will, or do you think it will just support the process of
Well, I'm
passing a
hoping
challenge?
it supports the process. So I'm not sure about passing the challenge. Obviously, there's always going to be rules in place. There's always going to be, I mean, prop firms aren't always going to allow traders who are using artificial intelligence to pass their challenges. But for us as a tech company, obviously we use AI for a lot of different things. We're using AI to try and build the software that we're creating. We're very hopeful that AI is going to help us actually make more money as a prop firm and be able to sort of distinguish between who is actually a profitable trader and who's not a profitable trader.
So will you use the AI to analyze how people are doing and
Pretty much,
provide that feedback to them?
Yeah, so we are already doing that.
Okay.
And well, maybe not providing that feedback back to the customer just yet. Obviously, we're testing things at the moment, but yeah, obviously AI is something that we're hoping will help our business massively. And I mean, like I said, if we get to a point where our software is way better, it could be a thing where we allow everyone to use AI and it doesn't make a difference to us. So
Of course. I mean, AI is definitely disruptive technology, and some people will be skeptical and think, oh, you know, it's gonna ruin the world of trading, or it's gonna ruin this. And I'm always very optimistic. I always look at things from the perspective of how can I use this to improve what I'm currently doing? I mean, even when it comes to making videos, I mean, there's AI tools now that will take your podcast and clip it into 100 separate clips.
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's incredible what it can do. And so, you know, I have no doubts in terms of the way it will support, obviously, the prop firm itself, but even traders as well going forward. I don't know, I'd love to get your opinion. I don't think it will take out the manual trader, because
I don't think so either.
Yeah, because if it was that great that an AI could just do it for you all the time, I think a lot of these hedge funds will just snap it up, and there will be no more manual traders.
Yeah, no,
so
exactly.
I think there still are people that will enjoy the process of being hands-on and learning about trading themselves and executing it themselves. But maybe there's an AI tool that comes around that will help them with their risk.
Yeah.
That will send them alerts, things like that.
Yeah. The thing is, I think if everything, if an AI could do all of the trading for you and was extremely profitable consistently, I feel like everyone else would start using the same AIs.
Yeah.
AIs would learn that other AIs are using the same sort of strategies and whatever, and the market would just go flat. I think there just would not be any movement, because everything would be like, actually, I'm exchanging this for the exact same price as this.
Yeah.
There's no money to be made. Obviously, for the banks, they're making most of their money by wiping out all the retail investors or other banks or things like that. So for someone to make money in the market, someone else has to lose that money. If there's no sort of liquidity in the market, there's no money to be pulled from the market. So I think if everyone was using AI, there just wouldn't be any liquidity. There'd be it would just all be it would just all be exchanged back into the same hands, and then just pass to the next guy,
Exactly, 100%,
and just be passed back. So,
exactly. As a prop firm, do you have any regulations when it comes to people using AI to take the challenge?
Right now, no. So we do have different trading styles that we don't allow. Martingale, for one. So martingale is essentially so the way we take it, we've had people come up with loads of different sort of ways that martingale works. But for us, the way that we look at it is, if a trader is going into drawdown and they place a bigger trade in the same direction, we will call that martingale.
Yeah.
So no matter what, it doesn't have to reach a certain point. It doesn't have to be doubled or anything like that. If the market's coming down and they're in a buy and they buy again with a bigger position, then we call that martingale.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because essentially they can continue to do this as the market continues to move down.
Yeah.
And it's a great strategy, don't get me wrong. And if you use it on your personal account, you will make money, but eventually it's going to lose.
Yeah.
So it will, so as the market's going down, they're going to place bigger trades.
Yeah.
And when the market comes back up, it doesn't have to go all the way back to the first trade for them to make profit.
Yeah.
And this is why so many people do it. Now, that's great, but there is going to be a time where the market doesn't come back around.
That's the thing.
It doesn't pull back, and it will just continue to drop, and you will add more and more trades, and you will lose the account. So unfortunately, it's reliable to an extent.
Yeah.
And then when it's not reliable, who takes the risk on that? Right.
Well, exactly.
So we just unfortunately can't. We just don't want to take the risk on that. So we don't allow martingale. So obviously, if there's an AI trading robot that has a certain strategy that we don't allow, obviously we wouldn't allow that. But we're more than happy for traders to input their own trading data into AI, find out what's working best for them. Maybe if AI is telling them, actually on Thursdays you're really good at trading gold, then maybe you start just trading gold on Thursdays, right? So little things like that, we're more than happy for traders to do that, because if they can show consistency in the market, we're more than happy to fund them, because we can copy trade them, we can make profit too.
Exactly. So it's in your best interest really for a trader to do really well.
Yes, as long as they're not gambling.
Yeah, of course,
so that's the thing. We've had people who we've had to say, look, you're too much risk for us, and then we get labeled with that. Oh, they don't want profitable traders.
Yeah,
we do want profitable traders, and we've had traders that have made multiple 5-figure payouts.
Yeah.
And over long periods of time, and they're still funded and they're still trading with us, and we're more than happy to continue to pay them because they are consistent. But when you get someone who comes in and they're trading on a very small time frame, they're using huge lot sizes. If we copy trade them and there's any latency between their account and our account, obviously it could cause issues. They could see $10,000 profit in their account. We could see 10,000 negative in our account. Just because the trade has moved so quickly and closed on their account before it's closed on our account. And what do we do about that? We've actually lost $10,000, but we now have to also pay them $10,000.
Exactly.
So we're losing $20,000.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So obviously we have to take precaution when it comes to risk. That's just something we have to do. But in general, we do actually genuinely like profitable traders. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes perfect sense. A lot of people seem to have no issues with it if it was a hedge fund.
Right.
You know, telling them, no, you can't risk this much. But if it's a prop firm, then they're supposed to just gamble and just be reckless. Not at all. I mean, a lot of hedge funds, if they were to interview a trader for a position, they would make sure that they look at the equity curve.
Right.
And think, hang on a second, this guy's had some wild, lines up and down. This is too risky for us. We want someone with a slow and steady increase over time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure that's exactly what you want to see as well. You want to see someone who's got a good strategy. They're not being reckless with the money, and their risk management is spot on. But if it's wild, if it's up and down, then that puts the business in a tricky position.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And you're more than entitled to say, actually, this kind of trading doesn't work for us.
Yeah. And I mean, look, we're always fair. So I have seen some things about companies just completely rejecting that person. They've lost their money now. But we will always offer a refund. If the trader's made money, we do offer that payout, and we will offer them a refund and say, look, we're really sorry, but your style of risk is just too much for us. Obviously, if you want to try again, you're more than welcome to try again. But just in some cases, we just can't. In most cases, we just can't allow that style of trading.
And that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. And how many members now are in Glownote?
So we have. I can't. I can't say how many traders we have off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I know that we're doing a few thousand a month. A few thousand customers per month. So yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But we've got around 15,000 in our Discord group. We've got amazing. About 12, 13,000 on our Twitter community.
Yeah.
My personal Twitter has grown by 1,000 over the last couple of days. Don't know how that's happening. Thank you guys. But yeah, so we've got quite a big community.
Yeah.
And quite a few traders. Obviously our tech company manages tens of thousands of traders, so so we're overseeing quite a lot of the traders. Yeah.
And what is the goal for Glownode in 2024? Where do you want to take it?
Okay, so we obviously number one would be amazing.
Yeah.
So being the biggest prop firm would be just absolutely the goal, the dream. But I understand there's prop firms that have been around for a while. Again, there's so many things that are different about Glownode, like the fact that we have such a great tech team, the fact that we're working on different software that's going to just continue to elevate the company. We're also working on some new plans, which are going to be insane. These are things that have never, ever been done before in the industry. So we are really hoping that with all of these things combined, we can sort of get to the upper levels of the industry. Yeah. So that would be really cool. But yeah, I guess in terms of customer wise, I'd say probably tens of thousands, of course, per month. Yeah, I'm not sure what else.
Well, that's brilliant to hear. And I think
I'd also love to see millions in payouts. Yeah. I think that would be cool.
That's a good way of quantifying success for sure. I mean, if there are millions of pounds of payouts going out every month, I mean, you've got a strong community of profitable traders. And I have no doubts that the company will get there. And that's exactly why I've joined forces with Glownode, because I'm very confident in the fact that the company will continue to expand and there'll be more and more great traders from around the world joining. And are there any restrictions globally, just for those watching that are in different parts of the world?
So currently we do have restrictions. I believe Pakistan. It's just Pakistan at the moment, yeah.
Sorry to all the Pakistanis out there.
Yeah, really sorry.
Move to a different country.
So, look, we are trying to change this.
Yeah.
The only reason why we've had to ban Pakistan, unfortunately, is because we had a significant amount of traders from Pakistan reverse trading against us and other companies. And it's very hard to spot it, especially if we're not the tech provider for those companies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we obviously cannot allow that. And for now, we are working on a way to spot that for every company.
Yep.
But for now, we're just saying no to Pakistan at the moment, just because of the influx of customers that we're doing that. And it was literally a crazy amount of customers. So
yeah, of course. I mean, I'm sure as a business, you'd welcome customers from there with open arms, assuming everything was to run smoothly.
Yeah, of course.
But I have no doubts, of course, at some point that will probably open up again. But that's incredible. I mean, it's a global opportunity. If you're a trader who's consistently profitable and you want to scale your profits by partnering up with a prop firm that will allow you to do so, Glownode is the no-brainer. It's a company that's constantly innovating. Obviously, the technology that you described is incredible, and a lot of companies aren't innovating, and that's why they'll be left behind.
Yeah.
And of course, Glownode is 2 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
So we started in 2022. So we're actually 18 months old.
18 months, but
just over.
Out the gates fast. Yeah. Looking to take over the market completely. And, of course, the founders behind the company are doing a terrific job in making sure that the experience for the customer is always improving. And that's something I really respect. And, of course, Sam, being a trader himself, taking these challenges, experiencing the conditions, learning from these experiences, and then developing a experience for a trader that essentially allows them to win as much as possible is really refreshing to see. And what we'll do is, of course, we'll link everything in the description down below, all the details, how people can sign up to Glownode, and of course the website, and of course your social media handle as well. I'm not sure if Ryan's on social media.
So Ryan's actually just joined Twitter.
Brilliant.
So we'll leave that in the description as well. But so Ryan was very much behind the scenes for a long time.
Oh, fantastic.
But he is on Twitter now, so you can go and check him out.
Amazing.
I think he's at a few thousand now in his first week on Twitter. So
that's really refreshing to see. Well, before we wrap up, I'd love it if you could give a trader right now who's just watching this thinking, you know what, I want to really take trading seriously in 2024. If you could just give them a few words of wisdom as to how they could approach trading in 2024 as a complete rookie, what are the steps you'd encourage them to take?
Sure. So first of all, as we mentioned earlier, you need an income. That is one of the most, in fact, it's probably the most important thing. Have an income first, because when you take that first loss, it's very hard to come back from that if you're relying on it, right? Whereas if you already have an income and you're only risking money that you can afford to lose, you're not going to feel too bad about losing that money. So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing, find a strategy that is just super, super simple. There's a million strategies online. Just find one and stick to that. Of course, back test it for a bit. So back test it, demo it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, until you feel confident in that strategy, until you're doing maybe at least 60%, 70% risk, 70% win rate. So yeah, just be confident in that strategy before you move on to live, but don't leave it too long. Don't overanalyze, as we were talking about earlier. Just get stuck in and just try it out. If you lose, you lose. At least you have that income so that you're only risking what you can afford to lose, and it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. I think find a strategy that works for you. Stick to it.
And I'd like to add this as well. I mean, this ties in very nicely. If there's one thing I wish I did earlier in my trading journey, it would be definitely to get involved with a prop firm.
Yeah, that's true.
Because why delay the process of you making more money?
Yeah.
I mean, for the same trading, if you could make an extra 10 times what you would make. Yeah. Because, and this is why prop firms are no-brainers, because obviously when you're in a job, you can only put into an account what you've put aside for an account. I mean, that might be too, it depends on how much you're earning from your job, of course, but if you're earning £1,700 a month after tax, and you've paid all your rent, your car payment, everything, you might only be left with £700-800 to play with at the end of the month. And if you put 400 in a trading account, that 400 is going to feel like 40 grand. Because if anything goes wrong, and we know how it is, there's something called Murphy's Law. Anything that will go wrong, usually will at the worst possible time.
Right.
Your car breaks down when you've only got £300 in your account, and now you're screwed. So that 400, you're really going to be sweating bullets for. Obviously, when you get into a prop firm situation, it's still going to be something that you think about, that £400. However, now you've got access to more capital. So now for the same performance, instead of making $1,000 from, or, let's say £500 in a month. I mean, we're assuming you're flipping £400 and you're making £500. So that's high risk management. Yeah. Let's just say if you were to have a 10% month on £400, I mean, you made 40 quid. And that's considered good risk management, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
But if you have access to...
I mean, if you think what Warren Buffett on average makes 20% a year. Yeah. So literally a few percent per month.
That's exactly it. And 8 to 10% is realistic as a trader. But if you only had £400, £40 doesn't excite you. Doesn't turn you on. But if you're...
And that's when all those different emotions kick in.
Exactly.
Like the greed and the fear of...
Because then you want to flip accounts.
Yeah.
Then you want to take 400 to 800 to 1600. And then you're going to self-sabotage in doing that. But obviously, when you have access to 50,000 or 100,000, now you can relax a little bit more, because you know for the same performance, you're making way more money. So that's why prop trading, if you're a trader, if you want to take this thing professionally, if you want to dabble around and make 20 quid here and there, maybe you don't need a prop firm. But if you want to make some serious money, then a prop firm is an absolute no-brainer. But you got to approach it with a sensible attitude, with the attitude of a business owner, as we said. This is an investment in yourself, in your business, and then from there, of course, learn about the parameters. What Glownode wants you to achieve, the payout system, and consider these parameters as a guide. And also, I see the parameters as a way to help you become a better trader. If there were no parameters, you'll be reckless. So the fact that there is, systems in place to take you out if you're not performing well, that's good.
Well, yeah, to be honest, trading with prop firms probably made me a better trader, because I had to stick to those rules. I had to stick to my risk management. And I physically was not able to sort of break my own rules. So yeah,
absolutely, I fully agree with that, because it does feel like you're trading for a company, even though you're trading for yourself. It feels more serious. You know, now I'm with a prop firm. I've got to take this thing seriously. Now it's not just me with my own broker account fiddling around with a bit of money. Now it's okay. If I take this seriously, I can scale. And there's people in the community that are doing terrific work in terms of the way that they've scaled their accounts, and they're now managing multiple accounts. They were drawing a really good amount of money, but I'm sure they'll learn from the Discord group as well, you know, how other traders are approaching the market. And obviously, you know, sometimes it's a good idea not to focus too much on what other traders are doing, because then that'll get you confused, but learn how they've approached it. I think the approach is good. The strategy may be different, and definitely stick to your own strategy if it's working, but how they approach the assessment period and the psychology, that's definitely something to learn from.
No, definitely. Another thing I'd say before we finish off is if you only have, let's say, $1,000 spare, don't buy the biggest account possible, because there are obviously lots of different reasons why people fail. There are many chances that you might fail. Start off with a smaller account first and then work your way up. That's what I would always recommend, because we get a lot of people, and it breaks my heart to be honest, but a lot of people come to me, they've just spent their last penny on a challenge and they've blown it because of news, or they've blown it because of something, and they've worked their ass off on building that account up to then lose it, and because they've spent their last penny on it, they can't try again. So, and
that's the issue, it takes you out the game for a while.
Exactly.
So it's better to take it.
So make sure you're taking it slow. I mean, look, even with a 20k account, if a 20k account or 25k account, we charge, I think, $199 or something like that. So you can still make even just 1 or 2% on that account. You're making hundreds of dollars, right?
Exactly.
And then use that to pay for your next challenge or whatever. Or if you fail that challenge, at least you've not spent every penny you have.
Well, that's exactly, ultimately, you want as many swing at bats as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So because you're not, it's very rare, and I'm sure you'd agree, that a trader gets it right the first time they take a challenge. You know, they get a home run, they get a massive withdrawal. I mean, it can happen, but it's very rare. So definitely approach it strategically to give yourself as many chances as possible to get it right, essentially. Because, you know, and don't view a failed challenge as a negative or as the end of the world. It's feedback. Because then you can look at how you approached it. Oh, I was rushing it a little bit too much. I was trying to get a payout. I was being greedy. Learn from it. I always journal. I preach journaling quite a lot when it comes to trading, because sometimes you're not aware of the self-sabotaging activities that you're doing unless you write it down. And I screenshot every position, and I tell my traders to do the same as well, because when you see your trades, sometimes you're like, man, that was stupid. Why did I do that? You know, I entered too soon. I didn't wait for my confirmations, and so that's good feedback to take on board to ensure that going forward you're more profitable. But Sam, thanks very much for coming down. Ryan, of course, as well, and the videographer, thank you so much. They're at the background over there, so we can't see them. But the next podcast we'll do as well, we'll get Ryan involved as well, because I want to dive deep into the technological aspects of it as well, and the infrastructure behind the business. But I appreciate you for coming down.
No, thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. And if you want to find out more information about Glownode, we'll put all the details down below as well. If you're a trader that's looking to take things seriously in 2024, absolute no-brainer as an investment. Everything will be linked, including Sam and Ryan's social media handles down below. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you give this video a like, comment, let us know what you think down below.
Subscribe to the channel.
And subscribe to my channel and also Sam's channel as well. Thanks very much, guys.